It feels like forever ago I was last stood here telling you we're about to start a hill climb race, but for one last time this season, it's time to get racing a Friday night hill climb project. And tonight we are racing up none other than the Hanging Gate, which is the classic season finale. It's only a short one at just 1.1 kilometers with an average gradient of 8.5%. But it's always a spectacular race with some stunning views all across Cheshire. Unfortunately, I'm too far off the mark to stand any chance of being competitive on the overall season leaderboard this year, but I have got one thing in the bag, and that is the club leaderboard. So no matter how tonight goes, I will be retaining the club hill climb trophy for another year. But what bike am I racing on tonight? Well, unfortunately, my QuickPro is stuck out in France when I took it over there to race the Etap around a month ago now, but that only means one thing, and we are getting the OG BMC hill climb machine back out and ready to race. This thing weighs only 4.9 kilos and is absolutely phenomenal to ride, even if I do generally prefer to race my QuickPro these days. I've got a 1x drivetrain with an 1128 at the back and a 34 tooth chainring up front using the hooded ultralight cranks. I've pretty much done every weight weenie thing possible to this bike, and I always look forward to racing on it. My one little concern for tonight though is the surface is pretty awful on the climb supposedly, and these High Road SL tyres are not exactly well renowned for being the most puncture proof in the world. So I feel like it's going to be a bit of a ride with fingers crossed game, but hopefully they're going to survive. And of course they are just about one of the lightest tyres on the market, so perfect for the build. And now for the not so fun part, my current fitness. Since racing the Etap mid-July, I had a couple of weeks really going for it out in the Alps, doing some big climbing efforts that you'll have seen on the channel across the last couple of weeks. But once I got home from that, I've had around 2 weeks of not really doing anything properly training on the bike to try and recover as much as I can and deload loads and loads of that training stress, ready to properly get locked back in for that autumn hill climb and gravel racing season that I've got planned. So yeah, my shape is not looking great, and nor is my body weight. I think I saw 70 kilos on the scales the other day, which is a little bit scary considering I was down at 65 earlier this year. But seeing as the leaderboards are set in stone now, there's no pressure to perform, so I'm just going to go out there and have a bit of fun and see what I can do. And there's one other thing I'm really excited about for tonight. I've managed to somehow convince my partner Ellie to come out and race as well. She basically never rides a bike. I think I've dragged her out once this year, and she's certainly never done a bike race before, so yeah, it might be quite the experience for her to try hill climb racing for the first time. I've at least thrown my Icon road wheels along with some nice tubeless tyres on a gravel bike, so it doesn't feel too slow for her. But I think that really is the awesome thing about hill climbing, just how inclusive it is, and the fact that somebody who's never raced a bike before can just be like, yeah, I want to have a go at this, and get signed up and race. You know, I'd be a bit concerned if she was wanting to race a crit or a cyclocross, but with the sort of speed you do in hill climbing and the lack of other riders around, especially on these quiet back roads, the worst you're realistically going to do is just put yourself in a lot of pain racing. And talking about pain racing, I guess I should talk a little bit about my goals for tonight. Well, the course record stands at 2 minutes and 56 seconds. But if you were listening to what I said earlier, yeah, I'm in no shape to be challenging for any records tonight. So yeah, I think I'm going to be a long way down on that. And my target I'm setting myself is to go under 3.5 minutes. But we'll just have to see how the legs are faring. I've not done a super intense effort like this in ages, probably not since racing up Pim Chair. And that was probably about 6 weeks ago now, where I did do a very good performance, but yeah, it's been a while and I've had a lot of time off the bike. Some details on the climb then. The Hanging Gate is 1.1 kilometers in length with an average gradient of 8.5%. So it's by no means the hardest climb in the world, but in true hill climb fashion, it's a proper irregular one with constantly changing gradients. There's a steep start to it, then there's a plateau in the middle before a steep kicker to the line. So it's going to have to be the classic strategy of push hard on the steep bits and back it right off on the flats. Let's see how well I execute that one tonight. So I guess it's about time for me to get kitted up, pull the skin suit back on, get a number in, and get out onto the climb for one last race of the Hill Climb Project 2026. It's going to be a good one. 3, 2, 1. Go, 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 go. Go on. Ellie's just set off. We'll see how much she hates me for convincing her to ride tonight afterwards. But yeah, I've got about 10 minutes to go. Just done a bit of a quick warm-up. With helping Ellie out and all that, I've not really had time to do it properly, but I've done the best I can. Smashed the caffeine gel. Time to get lined up and race.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
And then it was my turn to race, kicking off hard out the gate, straight up into the proper climbing. This was going to be a short but crazy intense race. My power target pretty much was around 500 watts up this initial kicker. Obviously I went a bit above that, setting off in the line, just trying to get up to speed. But as we round the corner here, this is where I let my power settle down, pretty much bang on that 500 watt mark. And actually, only 200 meters in, my legs are feeling pretty good. Squeezing past the oncoming traffic. This is where the gradients are pretty significant. Smiling to the photographer for a good thumbnail photo op. But I know soon I'm going to have a flat section where I can recover a little bit before the final kick. So it doesn't matter if I'm going a little bit over what I could sustain for 3 minutes here. And then once we've rounded the corner, this is where the road surface turns absolutely terrible. There's one thin strip up the middle of the road that is not horrifically bumpy, which I absolutely send it through, seeing the start of the flat section on the horizon, where that guy's standing, knowing I've just got to keep my pace into it, and then I can have a nice little breather. That first ramp took me 70 seconds with an average power of 534 watts. So as we hit it now, passing the pub, I back the power right off, but you'll notice my speed isn't really changing very much. Possibly I could have squeezed a little bit more pace out without putting out too much power here. But you know what, in a scheme of a race like this, the flat sections, you're not going to gain really any significant time. All you're going to do is blow your legs up unnecessarily. And I was going to need every bit of form possible from my legs for this next stretch, where it ramps up super steep through the woods. Again, the road surface is pretty dire, so I'm constantly having to try and dodge and weave and avoid potholes, which when you're on your absolute limit can be quite difficult. But I do push some respectable watts, even if towards the top I am starting to fade a little bit. We were finally now onto some of the easier gradients of the climb. This is where it's going to slowly level off until we hit the finish line. But there was still about 250 meters to go, so I really couldn't let the pace slip now. And I keep having to remind myself, no, you're not going to sit down, you're going to get back up out the saddle and you're going to kick again and again and again. But this really is where it's hurting. You can see my power really wavering, with occasional moments of it dipping into the 300s even. But as that finish line comes up on screen, I managed to convince myself to get out the saddle and kick one last time and just try and rinse every watt I possibly can to get myself across that finish line for the final time this year. But it felt like an eternity, that last 5 or 10 seconds of the race. And I was completely cracking by the line. I was blowing up at the top there.
Oh, sticky.
Well, that's it. Hill Climb Project 2026 is officially done and dusted. And what a beautiful evening it is up here. Sitting outside the pub in that beer garden with the sunset has been absolutely magical. And what a way to end such a special series of racing. And I'm pleased to say Ellie did make it to the top. And she did have a smile on her face at least. So I think we've earned a pizza now. So I'm going to get myself back home and I'll catch you all tomorrow with the results. So I'm now back home in the studio and I bet you're all wondering, just what time did I manage to do? First things first, I have set myself a brand new 3-minute power PB at 463 watts, which I am absolutely over the moon with. That's a huge PB for me and a really good sign going forwards, even if my weight is a bit on the heavy side. But what time and position did that translate to? Well, I did a time of 3 minutes and 6 seconds, which, if you told me that before the race, I would have been absolutely over the moon with. However, everyone else was going so well tonight, it was only good enough for 8th place. Yes, you heard it right, 8th place. However, there were a bunch of us all really condensed into around a 10-second window, with Kieran massively out ahead, setting an absolutely blisteringly fast course record of 2 minutes and 39 seconds. Well, I guess that is why he's one of the best hill climbers in the entire country. And digging a little deeper into my performance against some of the guys I often race with, if you look at the time differences on Strava, you can see that most of my time lost came from that very top stretch. As you saw during the POV, where I was saying my form was really dropping and I was losing a bit of focus. So I think my goal going into the more open hill climb season and thinking ahead to next year is working on my execution at the end of races, holding strong, holding my form right the way to the line. Because I seem to be doing this quite often, shipping 2 or 3 seconds in that final push to the line. And if I want to be winning these things more often in future, I need to sort that out. And honestly, I don't think it's particularly a fitness thing. I think it's all psychological. And it's about, can you bury yourself to that next level pushing across the line? So I hope you've all really enjoyed today's episode. And of course, it is not the end of racing here for the year. I've got a big 3 weeks of gravel racing coming up with the National Championships, the European Championships, then the Grey and Cymru, and then it's back onto hill climbs as we build up to the National Championships. So make sure to smash the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and consider channel membership if you want to get early access to the videos and plenty of other behind the scenes. And I will see you all in the next one.